maybe you'll have to give us a little info on what exactly bottled in bond means. Yeah, so how would you describe this bottle? Like a shouldered wine bottle shape?
Elegant, the right word? I don't know.
Sexy. You recording? Dear listener, you're going to find out what we're talking about here in just a minute. First, how about a little bit of an intro? Thank you for listening to the Savor the Burn podcast. My name is Jonathan. Across the table from me is the interesting Mr. W2. Thank you once again for listening to us on your podcast app of choice. Be sure to check us out on all socials: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, most especially, and we'll get into that why later, most especially. Keep your emails coming. We're enjoying the feedback that we're getting off of those. And keep checking out savortheburn.com. But until then, you're going to have to give all that a little bit of a backseat because you're listening to the episode right now. And this episode, we're going to be talking about what, Mr. W2?
The last few episodes, we've been kind of taking a stroll down the Buffalo Trace Distillery allocation lane, so to speak. Now we have kind of brought ourselves to the Colonel E.H. Taylor small batch offering. And this one I'm very, very excited about. Like we've mentioned in a previous episode, at Buffalo Trace, every morning between their special allocation offerings, Blanton's, Eagle Rare, Weller, E.H. Taylor, those are all hard to find in general.
Because they just make less of them.
Yeah, especially over on the other side of the country in Kansas City here. A lot of these just don't make their way over this way. We're lucky to get, a couple Blantons will pop up here and there, but then they're gone before you have a chance to even start your car.
I know a gas station in Blue Springs. It's on 7 Highway and... well, that doesn't matter. It's on 7 Highway in Blue Springs. And those dickheads have, they're not dickheads. They're just doing the secondary market thing.
Yep.
They have 3 bottles of that Blanton's, and they want $200 each.
They'll get it.
They'll get it.
Someone will pay it.
If somebody knows it's there, now that my fucking big mouth talked about it, they'll figure it out if they go. It's wild to me. Like, it'll be $68 at the distillery or at the store if you can find somebody honest and willing to sell it to you at the retail, but secondary, nope, they'll take off with it. But yeah, like you said, these get harder further away from the distillery, I guess, because they make less and people just gobble them up quicker.
So every morning they put one of their special allocations out on the shelf, first come, first serve, which causes a daily line to form hours before they open the doors. And when we were visiting the distillery, Weller was the allocated bourbon of the day. And so you may ask, well, then how in the world did you get your hands on this bottle, which is even harder to find than the Weller? Well, the week before, my sister was up there for her birthday. They were up there 3 different days. They landed a couple Blantons. They landed a couple Weller. They landed a couple E.H. Taylors, and knowing that this is one that I was on the hunt for, she early birthdayed gifted me one of her 2 bottles that she picked up.
She got 2 bottles. Wow, that's cool.
And this one, if I remember correctly, she was telling me that when they grabbed the 2 off the shelf for them, there was 1 left. So they were at the tail end of that line, and they definitely ran out that day.
Wow.
But the E.H. Taylor, I know that there is a small batch, which is what this is. There's also a single barrel version, and I think there is a cask strength version of it also. So there are different varieties, but even the small batch is super, super hard to find. I've never seen one in person until she gifted this to me. I had never seen the actual bottle in person, and it comes in a cool tube, and I'm excited to get in and try this. Just to jump in here a little bit, it says that Taylor Bourbon was originally made by Colonel Edmund Haynes Taylor just after the Civil War, when he got out of the Army and purchased the OFC distillery. Today, the line of Taylor bourbons are owned by the Sazerac Company and distilled in their famous Buffalo Trace facility. but make no mistake, this is one of their premium brands, and they cut no corners. Colonel Edmund Haynes Taylor was one of the founding fathers of modern bourbon. So if you are going to name a product after the man, you better be prepared to stand up and represent. And this fine bourbon does not disappoint. At every point, this bourbon is made by hand, and each cask is heavily scrutinized. Only the best are selected to wear the Taylor badge. Now, what's kind of a fun fact that I did not know, my sister was telling me this, but in the state of Kentucky, the politicians have the power to, if they think you are a good person and you have contributed to the well-being of the community, they have the power and the ability to make you a colonel.
Really?
Colonel E.H. Taylor was not a military colonel.
Oh, wow.
After the Civil War and he started making bourbon, the politicians at the time said, you know what? You make a damn fine bourbon. You have done this community and our state a fine service. We are going to make you a colonel. And he became a colonel.
I just wonder how he got out of the Army and purchased a distillery.
You know, that's a great question, too.
Like, if you know anybody enlisted, like, the money they're making, it's not money. It's like money with a capital M. And I would think you would need money to buy a distillery. Wonder if he had some family money.
Maybe. But at any rate, he made some good bourbon, so.
Mm-hmm. And people are still clamoring to get it today.
Yep.
Let's give this a little swirl in the glass and take a look at it here. It says here in your notes that it's, warm maple? Mm-hmm. It looks like warm maple to me, like warm 100% maple syrup, not that trash you get like in a log cabin jug. I like log cabin syrup, Mrs. Butterworth. I love them all. But yeah, the 100% maple syrup, that's where it's at. And this kind of looks like that.
You know, I learned on the Mistress tour that I did, they didn't go into any great detail about it, but I did learn that the characteristics of the legs that we talk about when we swirl this in the glass, each distillery has a very distinct leg pattern.
Okay.
And a really, really good whiskey connoisseur can tell you what brand this is by its legs.
Really?
I'm definitely not there.
No, for sure not.
But I don't.
I mean, this has got 100 legs around the whiskey glass.
Yep. I like looking at the legs. I think it's a cool part of this tasting.
I'm a fan of looking at legs myself.
I mean,
getaway sticks for days.
The interesting thing with this is a no age statement bourbon. So as we've kind of traveled through the Buffalo Trace offerings, their flagship product, just Buffalo Trace, is an 8-year bourbon.
Not that they marked it on the label.
They didn't, no marking on the label, but it is a 8-year. Weller, again, no markings on the label, but it also is an 8-year bourbon. This one's a no age statement bourbon, but when I researched it, I did find that it is thought to be, on average, a minimum of 7 years.
Okay.
Which is still not bad. We've done 1 year, we've done 2-year bourbons before, so it definitely is aged a lot more than some of them.
6 to 8 is the average sweet spot, but 8 to 12 is like the magic spot.
Yeah.
So that's not bad. I'm picking up, like, I haven't read the notes on purpose, but I'm getting like people have said grass. And we've been like, well, what the hell is that supposed to mean? But I'm getting like maybe grass notes.
Okay.
A little something sweet. It's not caramel sweet. It's not vanilla sweet.
I get corn.
Corn?
A little bit of corniness.
I keep trying to reset my nose.
This is also a 100 proof, so we've bumped up the.
Maybe that's why it's giving me so much hell in my nostrils here.
You know, when we did the Buffalo Trace and the Weller, both of those were 90. This one's 100, so we got a little bit more of a kick to it. This is one that from the distillery is 45. Flaviar is 132, and I've seen it up to 200 when I
200.
When I popped this into Google and started looking at who else has it.
So when you saw this on the shelf for 45, it was a no-brainer. It goes in the basket.
Well, it didn't go in my basket because it was a gift.
You're right.
It's not the sweet dessert caramel. I think this is more toffee.
It's like the caramel you find on popcorn, like the popcorn balls.
Yeah. maybe a little bit of apple.
Oh, well, shit. Yeah, your nose here says
that
fresh popcorn, caramel apples, and pumpkin spice. I'm not, again, with the pumpkin spice. I'm not picking up the pumpkin spice on the nose.
No, I don't.
I picked up caramel, like, from popcorn balls, which is weird. But, like, and then you said apples. So maybe between the two of us, we got caramel apples. But it also says fresh popped corn. I'm not picking up on the fresh popcorn, but you picked up on corn.
Yeah.
Weird. Enough with this mystery, gang. Let's try it on the...
Cheers, sir.
Cheers. Try it on the palate here.
Oh, that's delightful.
Wow.
That's really good.
Yeah, once your palate has time to adjust for the proof, which I think on second sip here, wow, the finish on that.
I love the finish on this. I mean, the finish is still there.
Did you try this with your sister?
I tried a very small sample of it with her.
More than the thimble size.
More than a thimble size, but it was also in a whole progression of...
Okay. Okay. The
like,
excited
ooh, try
sister.
this. Ooh, try this.
Yeah.
Hey, try this one.
Like, give me a minute, wobbly head. Wow. Okay, so this hit me with so many different flavors. It was kind of hard to lock down what any of them were. It's just, it ran in there, punched you with about, 7 or 8 different hits of wow, and then
the nose, I mean,
and then faded out pretty quick.
I'm still hung up on the nose on this.
Are you picking up any grass? I remember on the Tennessee,
not on my own, but maybe by suggestion.
I remember your sister and her husband said something
on the Tennessee.
Like they said something about grass. I'm like, that's absurd. And then we brought it up when Chandler was here, but I'm kind of picking it up. Maybe
that was what we used for the snake bite.
Snake bite.
We used she had a little bit of her Tennessee left, and we finished the Tennessee off when I mixed up a snake bite cocktail.
That's where you messed up. You should have done that amaretto bourbon sour with that stuff.
Maybe.
Remember that? That was the first 15 I ever had.
Oh man.
On the palate though, it's not off-putting. Or on the nose, it's not off-putting. On the palate, it's like, holy shit.
Well, the nose doesn't have that just straight, overwhelming caramel vanilla flavor. The popped corn, the caramel apple, and again, the pumpkin spice. No, I'm not getting any pumpkin spice. But those combinations gives the nose a very unique, very pleasant, but unique nose to it. And then when you take a swallow of it, like you said, you're hit from a couple different directions. That 100 proof definitely shows through.
Yeah.
But it has that caramel apple gives away to a butterscotchy, which to me, butterscotch and caramel share a lot of similarities. The difference between the two, in my mind, is butterscotch is where it becomes a little bit more creamier. And a little bit smoother.
I was going to say it's more buttery, but I think you said it better when you said creamy. Yeah. And
then maybe a little bit of cinnamon on the palate.
Yeah, I'm getting like warm or maybe toasted spice.
Kind of like a cinnamon toast kind of a flavor on it.
Not so much that it would be suggested for a breakfast whiskey. But this is...
Man.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a little bit left here.
This will make a fine cocktail.
You drop this in a first frost. I bet.
Mic drop.
I bet. Yeah, I bet it would give the blackened a run for it. No, blackened a run for its money. It's
the blackened kicked the number 9 reserve's ass.
And I thought number 9 reserve was going to take it, but it did not. It didn't even take it in its own recipe. But this may take the blackened. Might be something you can check out. Actually, do you have the blackened?
Yeah, it's just upstairs.
Okay.
I think I still got about a third of a bottle, maybe.
Yeah.
And this, again, is another straight bourbon whiskey. And I know we've touched on it a little bit, and I'm not super knowledgeable about the ins and outs and what exactly it means, but this is one of their offerings that is bottled in bond. And I do know that a bottled in bond bourbon means that it is regulated by the government. I don't necessarily think that I don't know. I'm sure it still means something today, but more importantly, when that got established, it was back in Prohibition time or post-Prohibition times, where before, a distillery would there was no regulation at all on it, and so you may get something that is 60 proof, 70 proof, because the distiller is trying to capitalize and maximize their profits on that, and so they're cutting it a little bit deeper than what they should. The bottled and bond effort was a way to regulate and certify that this is what the label says. And so, and actually, as we kind of talked about it, this bottle has a paper label that goes up and over
a little strip.
The cap. And it says bottled and bond. It's got the little watermark on there, and then it's 100 proof. So it is a certified 100 proof bourbon. This is not going to be, it's not fussed with, it's not messed with. It is what it is. And that's kind of why I feel like today, whether it's the government regulating or whatever, I feel like that there's enough consumer information out there. You're not going to be able to pull a fast one on the consumer as a whole. I just wonder how important that bottled and bond is today, but I do think it's pretty cool. I mean, there's an element to it that, to me, takes the bottle to another level.
Yeah, if a distillery took it to the government, and anybody that's ever done any work with government knows that there's a lot of hoops to jump through, and some of them are on fire. Like it's like a dog and pony show with some of the things that government wants you to do. So for a distillery to go through all that hassle just to get that little paper strip that goes over the actual cork stopper in the bottle, not a screw top lid, not a not a plastic lid, whatever.
And look at that cork on there. I mean,
yeah, it's actual cork.
Out of all the ones that
it's not that composite.
Yeah. Not only that though, but I mean, how many cork toppers have we seen that? To me, there's something about the wood grain that you see in that cork that looks a little bit more premium than a lot of other real cork stoppers. Does that make sense?
I think so, yeah.
While we were there at Buffalo Trace, I think I posted a picture of it. We ran across this little bitty building. And when I say building, it is a stand-alone building that's smaller than most bedrooms.
So somewhere between
it can't be much more than a 10 by 10 square foot.
Okay. So bigger than an outhouse, probably smaller than your average gypsy wagon.
Probably smaller than most
like a garden shed.
But it's a brick building. There's glass windows on 3 of the sides with steel iron bars.
Crypt.
There's a big old plaque on the top of it that says Federal Reserve bonded Treasury or something like that. There's a single barrel inside of it, and November, I'm blanking on the day, but November 2022, this past winter, Buffalo Trace, they barreled their 8 millionth barrel of whiskey.
Oh, wow.
And
that's a lot of whiskey.
They have certified that barrel as a bonded barrel of whiskey. That has got to be some really, really high dollar stuff when they finally pull that out and put it in bottles.
I think Tom Cruise via Ethan, whatever his name is from Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible, or maybe Nicolas Cage. They could figure out a way to find out if there's whiskey in that barrel.
Dun, 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 dun.
Uh-huh. We'll get Nicolas Cage to get all...
And Limp Bizkit will give us a soundtrack.
National treasure on that shit.
Chill!
Limp Bizkit!
Sorry, I'm just completely derailing your story.
Derailed. No, I'm just pontificating. I bet they could figure out whether there's whiskey in there or not, and or get it for us. Stone block walls, bars on the windows and all. High-tech surveillance. You get Tom Cruise to drop in through the roof.
There's a new Mission Impossible coming out soon.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Is that the one where he's climbing around on the fighter jet wing or something?
Something like that. He's 61 years old, and he did all of his own stunts.
He does all his own stunts. Like, as much of a fucking weirdo Scientologist, fucking crazy freak Maybe even a little douchebag. He is. Maybe he's earned that damn right. Because like, if he's doing all his stunts, like you've seen those stunts. I remember Mission Impossible 2 when that came out. He was jumping from one cliff to another with his bare hands. It's like, how do you do that? That's not trick photography. And then you hear he does his own stunts. Like he actually did that on those cliffs, miles above anything with no safety net. Like, there's 0% chance I would do any of that ever. But he's out there doing it. He's probably just showing off because he can. Man. So we didn't get to the finish. It says here in your notes, medium length with notes of vanilla and creme brulee. Actually, now that I read the notes, my notes on it, your notes say medium length. Mine said long, warm finish, sweet, creamy, developed.
Yep. I felt like the finish on this was a little longer than medium.
Yeah.
Which I loved. There were so many great flavors in there that it needed time to kind of crescendo and have its finale. And yeah, I think the creaminess of the butterscotch gives way to a vanilla
on the palate.
Yeah. From the palate to the finish gives way to that. I don't know if I would have said creme brulee, but now that I've read that, there's definitely a vanilla element to it. And yeah, I kind of agree with that. To me, a creme brulee is about a little bit of a burnt sugar caramelizing element. To me, I think notes of vanilla creme brulee sums it up. I love the packaging on this one too.
You love it?
I do. There's just a simple elegance about it that I like. The yellow with red pinstriping kind of and lettering and the hand signed element to it really kind of makes it feel like you get a personal connection with it. And it just, to me, it's very sophisticated. You have an old school like a lithography style portrait of our Colonel Taylor on one side, and you have one of the original distillery on the other side, and it's just a very classy approach to it. You know, it's not showy. So many other labels have cool pictures, and not taking away anything from the Buffalo Trace, but you know, they've got, you know, the torn label kind of a element to it. And, you know, the buffalo rendering, you know, a drawing of a buffalo on that. This is just very straightforward and very classy with nice typography and the signature. Maybe
a couple black and white photos.
Yeah, in a manner that kind of looks like it's kind of just hand stamped. So this to me feels like a bottle that was crafted start to finish by hand, not mass produced.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So all that said, with bottle presentation, sounds like you probably marked it pretty high.
I gave it a 4.5.
I'll be damned. So did I.
And I mean,
that was the first thing I actually. That was actually the first thing that I rated was bottle presentation.
You know, and not that it makes it taste any better or that, but this is also one that comes in its own custom tube.
Right, I didn't even think about that.
And so just again, because we're talking about the presentation of this is, to me, this is above and beyond bottle presentation. When you've got the tube, and it's not just a plain tube, you know, some of them are just very simple. And there's nothing wrong with that. I love a simple design, but the tube and the hand stamped kind of feel of it, the same shape of the vertical label with the two kind of cross designs, you know, with the portrait on one side.
Yeah, it's almost like they put the bottle label.
It's the same label. And actually, it's not printed on the tube. It is actually a label that's actually stuck to the tube. It takes it to yet another level. And so it is just a great presentation. Even the top cap of the tube is stamped with the logo.
Yeah, first and only. Any idea what that's about?
Father of bourbon.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, so every reason that you pointed out as far as the bottle goes, it's simple. It's, elegant, for lack of a better term. I like the paper government strip that they put on there. I'm a fan of the cork, the natural cork. I like the shape of the bottle. It reminds me of the High West double rye that we got.
Very much, yeah.
Only this is clear. It doesn't have any bubbles in the glass. But it's
and it's taller than that one.
It's tall. Yeah, right. It's
which
taller.
I only know that because I tried to put it in my cabinet, and the High West
it fits.
Bottle. It not only fits, but it's a perfect kickstand to help make my top shelf level instead of bow.
Oh,
so I keep a High West in the center, lower shelf. This won't fit because it's about an inch taller.
So it has to stay on the bar top.
On the bar top for everyone to see.
Yep. It's like, nope, you will look at me whether you want to or not. I like the color. I like the light shoulder with a fine taper to it, kind of like a wine bottle. Only it's just slight taper down at the bottom. I like the shape of the damn shape of the bottle. W2. I just like it.
It's a good bottle.
That's why I ended up giving it a 4.5.
Excellent.
So jumping up to the top, the nose, the first impression, I gave that a 3.5.
Okay.
It said fresh popcorn, and the paper in the notes here, it says fresh popcorn, caramel apples, and pumpkin spice. I didn't pick up on any pumpkin spice. I thought maybe, what was it, popcorn ball with the caramel on the outside of it. Maybe some of that going on. But you mentioned apples, maybe. And so after going back and reading what your notes said here, fresh popped corn and caramel apples, it's like all that stuff came together, but it was kind of piecemeal.
Yeah.
It got split up somehow with our unsophisticated palates. And it kind of came apart, but it was there except for the pumpkin spice. Some of the spices in pumpkin spice are like nutmeg, which maybe we picked up on, especially on the palate, which would be the next part. But that's where I was with the nose. Anyway, it is a little bit higher than average. It's like one full point above average on the nose.
I was at 4.25.
4.25 on the nose. So you were pretty impressed with it.
I was, and because it had all the familiar things that I was expecting, but I feel like the popped corn, the caramel apple, those combinations gave it a twist, and it brought something new to the table that I wasn't really expecting, and I enjoyed it, and so I just kind of bumped it up a little bit.
I like it. And then on the palate, it says here in the notes, thick, which I didn't even think of until after I rated it, but thick and sweetly spicy with butterscotch and cinnamon. I think the cinnamon, my brain figured that to be toasted spices because I think we'd said that. And my assessment on it was warm toasted spice or warm spice, light oak flavor. It didn't say anything about oak on the notes here. With a creamy sweet from what we talked was the butterscotch. We would describe butterscotch as a creamy sweet. Toffee would be like a deeper sweet.
Yep.
Caramel would be in your face kind of sweet with maybe a hint of vanilla. But we didn't get those, but we did get butterscotch, which was a creamy sweet. But thick. It was definitely thick because that's the best way I think to describe it. Because when we put it on the palate, when we tasted it, switched it around in the mouth for a second, there was so much going on. It was a thick experience as far as the taste goes. So I definitely agree with that. And it was sweet, and it was spicy.
Yep.
Not like jalapeno spicy, not habanero or serrano pepper spicy. Spicy, but it was good. It was a good spice, I think. So that's why I gave it the 4.5 because it was a great experience It wasn't perfect. I don't know what perfect would be. Maybe that's why I'm reserved from whatever, calling it a 5. But 4.5, definitely easy 4.5.
Yeah.
How about you?
So I gave it another 4.25.
4.25. How'd you get there?
I arrived on the 4.25 for a lot of the same reasons that you already mentioned. For me, like I described earlier, the butterscotch transformation really is the caramel and the toffees on the nose kind of transforming into that creamy butterscotch. I always think of butterscotch as just a very smooth, creamy. And I hadn't noticed the thick on there before, but I think that's really interesting. To me, that it hints at maybe a lingering quality. Mm-hmm. Because if you're eating a thick toffee or even butterscotch, mm-hmm. you have to take your time. And you're gonna have to work at it. You got to chew through it. You got to chew through it. But there's also a savoriness that comes with that too, because mm-hmm. that extra time is rewarded by that experience kind of extending out farther. So the 100 proof on it gives a little bit of spice on the palate. I don't know if that's pumpkin spice, but but it's definitely some kind of a spice there. But again, it's. For 100 proof, there's really no burn at all with it, and so it's quite enjoyable. I enjoyed it very thoroughly.
I definitely did too. And for the finish, the notes say medium length with notes of vanilla creme brulee. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've ever had creme brulee, but I've seen it a lot with the mm-hmm. caramelized, with the torch on the top and the custard. Like, it's got lots of vanilla in it. Stephen Reichland, I think I took video of it on TV. It was playing on PBS. It was a smoked old-fashioned or something. It was smoked some kind of cocktail. And we had been talking about doing smoked cocktails mm-hmm, at some point mm-hmm. anyway. So when this episode came on, I'm like, I know exactly what's going to happen. I need to turn off all these lights and get my cell phone and point it right at the TV. It's about as lo-fi as you can get, I guess. But it's totally pirating. I put it up on YouTube and I sent it to you mm-hmm. so you could see what I was talking about. And if they flag it and take it down, that's fine. I gave him all the Stephen Reichland. I gave him all the credit for it. He's a barbecuer, chef, cook, whatever. He's got his own cooking show on PBS. But he made creme brulee on a episode I watched maybe 2-3 days ago. And he put it on the smoker, and it looked fantastic. And then he sprinkled the sugar on there. Then he hit it with the torch. I'm like, man, that looks so fucking mm-hmm. good. And then he had to stab through it to get to the custard. And he's like, this is so good. He didn't really give a lot of description on it. Whatever. But I bet your Demerara, whatever
Demerara,
sugar would be stupid good. Whatever. This is not a cooking show podcast. We talk about a lot of different shit. Anyway, but yeah, so the creme brulee, the vanilla creme brulee finish on this, in my palate, my taste buds did not disagree with this finish written assessment here. Mine said long, warm finish with sweet, creamy, developed sweetness. And I pretty much agree with everything it said. For me, it was probably lingering sweetness with it still had some complexity to it mm-hmm, mm-hmm. With the spices from the palate at 100 proof. Like, I don't know that I've ever given a perfect score on 100 mm-hmm. proof ever anything, but on this one here I gave it a full 5.
All right.
Where did you sit with it?
I landed on just a 4.
Just a 4.
Yeah. I'm not sure why. Mm-hmm. I love the finish on this. The medium length, I thought it was more of a medium long length.
Medium long for sure.
To it. The vanilla definitely comes through, and seeing creme brulee in print, power of suggestion, mm-hmm. I don't disagree with that at all. Yeah, I loved everything about it, but just gave it a 4.
So what did that bring your total to?
That brought my total to 8.5.
8.5. My total is right at 8 3/4.
We're sneaking up on each other. We're getting we're getting right
this
there.
Some bitch dialed in. I like it. So we've talked an awful lot about this Colonel E.H. Taylor small batch bottled in bond mm-hmm. straight bourbon whiskey. Do you have any closing thoughts on this?
I want to come back and revisit this later on and turn this into a cocktail.
Yeah.
At this point, I want to think on that a little bit. I want it to be the right cocktail.
Yeah.
But I've got a really good feeling that this is a quality cocktail ingredient.
Yeah, it's not so busy with floral notes and, like it says in print here, pumpkin spice notes, that it would be so busy that it would get lost in a cocktail. It's a little more simple, but it's very direct. And I think you're right. Finding the right cocktail is essential to making this particular straight bourbon whiskey shine. But I don't think you'd have to search very far.
No.
I don't think it would work that great in a Manhattan, but it might. But I think...
old fashioned is a given.
Yeah.
But I think there's something else out there that this will shine fantastic
maybe you drop,
in.
It's not a Kansas City bourbon.
Right.
So maybe the horse feather wouldn't be right, air quote right per se, but I bet it would be great in a horse feather or in, what is the horse feather, like the cousin of a mule?
Kind of, yeah. A lot of the mules.
Putting this particular...
Kentucky mule.
Yeah, putting this in a mule, calling it a mule, like, degrades it to me. So I don't know if this would be the best for that. So yeah, you got some work cut out for thinking up exactly what this would be good for, but even more what this would be great for.
Absolutely.
So on that note, dear listener, finding a cocktail to fit this, we don't know yet. There's got to be a little bit of research done.
If you got one, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. Send it to info@savorthebourbon.com. Send it directly to the Mixmaster Maestro of all things cocktail, W2@savorthebourbon.com. And if you want to, you can send it to me, but I'm probably going to forward it to him. But send it to me, Jonathan@savorthebourbon.com. But definitely keep checking the website, savorthebourbon.com, for the liquor cabinet. And we'll have all our reviews and assessments online for you to check out. And you can check out the recipe, the cocktail recipes. Check out the store. The store window will bring up some different affiliate links. And on those affiliate links, you'll see one of them is a bar kit with a shaker and a jigger, strainer, all the little bar tool essentials that you would need. We're going to do a giveaway on those for our YouTube subscribers. So definitely hop over to YouTube, Savor the Burn, and click subscribe, and we'll be giving one of those away here. We'll get it all figured out, and you'll have all the needed details fairly soon, I would say. Definitely check us out on YouTube. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Once again, thank you for listening to us on your podcast app of choice. Be sure to subscribe and follow anywhere and everywhere you can. Thank you for listening to the Savor the Burn podcast. Once again, I'm Jonathan. Across the table from me is the... What did I call you? This
interesting.
Time? The interesting? The always interesting, Mr. W2. And no matter who you are, what you're doing, what you're drinking, and who you're with, always remember, keep on burning.